There are many reasons that marketing is a $500 billion annually industry in the United States. That's because the perception of how something feels affects whether people are going to spend money and buy it or not. Not all of us like to admit that. A lot of sellers of properties, they roll their eyes when we talk about staging and marketing a property. But the truth is, in order to get you top dollar, which is my job explicitly as your realtor, and I do exceptionally well in marketing, is the staging piece and the perception of the property and how we market it to bring the maximum, highest level prospect buyers to get you top dollar for your property. Marketing is a big deal, and a huge component of marketing is staging property. So today we're going to talk about the 16 key components of staging and some many suggestions that I'll have for you, most of which cost very little money and can make a massive difference in who and how many people we bring as far as the prospective people who are drawn to purchase your property. Because you don't know what you don't know, so I'm going to help you know a bunch of those today. Connect with people just like you every day to help them discover where to live and invest in real estate and sell property for top dollar when the time is just right for them. My name is Leif Jacobson. I'm an ex-cop turned realtor, also known as Safe Leif. If you're new to this channel, subscribe so you're first to learn about all things Colorado real estate. My contact information is below. I'm super excited to hear from you. I'd love to engage with you. Shoot me a text, call, or email after this video, or book a calendar event and I will reach out to you, whatever works best for you. So today we're covering 16 things that are vital in staging property. And a lot of people think of staging as, bringing in, furniture and, staging a house. And I do that as well. I actually provide that as part of my listing service at no cost to you. At all my cost, I suck up the cost of staging houses completely. A lot of realtors will stage houses, but they charge you thousands of dollars to do that. I don't charge you at all. I handle that personally. We have all of our own furniture. My wife is an incredible woman in many ways, and also as far as an interior designer. She does a brilliant job. She's kind of the Joanna Gaines of our business, and she is a pro at staging and presenting properties so they feel a certain way to draw people in order to pay top dollar. So it makes a huge difference how a property feels, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing we're going to address, and probably one of the most important things as far as a staging factor, is depersonalizing a property. So it is vital that a buyer or prospect buyer, someone who's coming to look at property, you don't want them to picture you living there. We want them to picture themselves living there. The more they picture you or anybody else living there, and again, this is a very emotional process for people, even subconsciously, they might not even know that they're keyed on stuff like this. So when they picture someone else living there, whether it's you or anybody else, they have a difficult time picturing themselves living there, and we want them to see it as a home and something that's adaptable to them, something that meets their needs of themselves personally, their spouse, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their family, their children, their dogs, cats, animals, activities, and lifestyle. There's lots of components to what they're looking at as they assess, again, even subconsciously, as they walk through the property. It is vital that they're able to picture themselves living there. And so that means depersonalizing property. Not because I don't like the photos of your family, not because I don't like your memorabilia and stuff that you've done to the property to make it very personal to you. All that's great as far as you living there. But when it comes time to sell the property, we want to depersonalize it and make it feel a bit more generic so other people can picture themselves living there rather than you living there. So it's vital to take down personal photos, like us talking about memorabilia, things that are very personal to you. And we want to have a very clean and open space, and we want it to feel depersonalized so it feels generic. You kind of want it to feel, kind of the end goal here is like you walk into a model home. If you've ever walked into a model home with a builder, there's a reason that things are very strategically generic in the house and they don't show pictures, of specific family members, that type of thing there. That's because they want you to be able to picture yourself there and not somebody else. So depersonalizing the house is probably one of the most important things right up front that it's very important to do. The second thing that can be super cost effective, you don't have to spend a ton of money, although you can, on mirrors. Mirrors and glass are a big deal. They reflect natural light, and they provide and make a space feel even bigger than it might be, but they can be overdone as well. So there's a balance here, and there's a fine line. That's partly the reason that I feel like you need our input, is because it doesn't cost you any money, and we're happy to give input, reference where to place and put mirrors. There was a bathroom a while ago that I went into where somebody put a mirror right in front of the toilet. So as you're sitting on the toilet, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and some of us making facial expressions when we're on the toilet. They're not so pleasing, and you don't want to look at yourself when that's happening in the moment, right? So mirrors can be placed in poor locations where you don't want them to make people feel odd or weird or self-conscious. So generally you want to place them, along the sides of walls, toward the back of a room, but not necessarily where you'll see yourself immediately walk in, but in a place where you won't necessarily see a reflection immediately, but it'll reflect daylight and make the room feel larger. So beware of placement and the right style and size of mirrors. A lot of, you can do pretty well at secondhand stores as far as mirror purchases. You might be surprised. Or places like Hobby Lobby, you go in there 50% off sales, that type of thing. So that's what I recommend to clients. But again, we can outfit you with those as well because we have mirrors in stock. The third point I'll make, and this is more of a kind of a conceptual thing, is a neutral color palette. It is important to not have drastic, you don't want a red bedroom or a green bathroom, as far as the wall colors, as far as flooring. You want a pretty neutral color palette in general. The goal in general is to make this feel like Home and Garden magazine, like any gorgeous place that you see. Now, once in a while, those have accent walls or things that are bright colors. But in general, we want a pretty neutral environment. And then you want to, if you want to make a statement or have an accent, you want to do that with some accent pillows, or maybe one piece of furniture in a room that really kind of brings a pop or is a central focus for the room. Once in a while, I'll recommend that people do an accent wall or something like that, but in general, without somebody's input who knows what they're doing, generally I wouldn't do that so much. You want to color pop with decorations and with things that can be easily replaced or removed. Don't try to color pop in general with what you think is going to look good, respectfully, as far as colors of walls or hard finishes that are not easy to swap out or change. So you want things to be pretty neutral, kind of creamy grays, kind of timeless colors in general. You want it to feel generic and pretty baseline as far as neutral colors, and then pop with decorations. The fourth thing we'll address is pet-friendly preparations as far as marketing and selling your home. So we are not looking to deceive or lie to anybody. I want to make that very clear, but we don't need to broadcast that you have 4 dogs, right? When they're coming to take a look at your house. So, dog bowls and kennels, that type of thing. Well, if we can remove those from the environment to make it feel even just more clean and crisp and not have those as a visual distraction, that is a benefit to a property. Not everybody has pets, not everybody's comfortable with pets. So again, we're not looking to deceive anybody or hide anything, but sometimes we don't want to broadcast necessarily that your 3 cats are wandering around. The fifth thing we want to cover today is creating the perception of open space and openness. Again, this is a very emotional and subconscious process. You would think that your master bedroom that's stacked full to the brim of all sorts of stuff, and you just close that door and kind of ignore the bedroom or the bedroom closet, is not necessarily the best way to present your house. People are going to open every door, they're going to look in every nook and cranny, and as they should, if they're looking at buying your property, they need to look and know all of the space. So open space is a good thing. Empty space is a good thing. As far as between a few kind of key decorations or a few books, if you have a bookshelf, having 67 books stacked on that shelf and 0 empty space is much different than having 2, 3, 4 books on one side with a bookend and a little cute decoration on the other side, leaving a bunch of space on the shelf. It will make the house feel, even though you're just talking about one shelf, when you have a number of areas, the pantry, the closets, the linen closets, when they're not packed full to the brim and tipping stuff over as you open the door, basically coming toward yourself. When you have open space in those areas, it makes it feel like there's more storage, even though having empty space on shelves doesn't necessarily mean that there's more storage than, what's the difference if they're just packed full versus having empty space? Again, this is a perceptual thing. It's a human nature to perceive. Basically, humans need to see empty space in order to know that they're going to have more empty space. So it's a perceptual, visual thing. It's important to have open spaces and not have every storage closet and every shelf and everything packed full to the brim. So you want an empty space rather than having it chock full. Just like the kitchen counters as well. So we will intentionally clean off the kitchen counters You maybe have one appliance or two on the kitchen counters in general, maybe a little, flour or something like that. We want your kitchen counters totally clean, which is not how most of us live, right? I've got all sorts of stuff in my junk drawer and on my kitchen counter, there's no question. But when you go to market and sell a property, it's vital. You go to an open house, or a showing, as far as a house that's being shown or staged, you'll never see clutter and stuff on the counters. It's really important to have that open space so people have the perception of, hey, there's lots of storage space and lots of available room for me here. That's what we want people to feel and perceive, even subconsciously. The sixth vital component is that you clean, sanitize, and declutter your house. People, again, get the flavor of how well a house has been maintained and how you have lived there by how clean it is. Unfortunately, that is, again, often very subconscious for people to kind of have a perception of how well a house has been cared for by how clean it is. So, we're talking details like, the top of the light switch plates, whether they're dusted or not, the window tracks and whether those are filthy or, covered in, pet hair and gunk and dirt from outside. So the fine details, having your house deep cleaned, which is another thing I provide as a realtor to you. At my cost, I have your house deep cleaned, so you don't have to do any of that. I bring in a crew and we deep clean the house top to bottom on the inside just before it goes live on the market. So that's something that I take care of, one less thing for you to handle, and they're doing things like window tracks and all those fine details, in and behind toilets, that type of thing. So the nooks and crannies, so it just feels super crisp and super clean to people. That is vital. Our olfactory sense, our sense of smell, is one of the most powerful senses that we have of our five senses. So when people walk, we all know what it's like to walk into a property and you think, like, oh, what is that? What is that smell? And man, when people have that reaction, it's over. People will check out emotionally. They will, even if they finish the tour on the property, if they walk in, they'll often be repulsed by a smell or an odor. And I'm talking about people buying this as their primary residence. If you walk into a place as a flipper or an investor, this is a different world. But when we're marketing to people who are looking at purchasing this as their home to live in, they will be repulsed by smells, and it totally affects the experience they have. So it's super important to also not have things that are covering up smell. So I'm not saying you put air fresheners everywhere in order to try to improve smell. We need to have neutral smell. Basically the goal is to have no odor, not good odors, and not bad odors. You want to have a house be odorless, especially with the products that you use to clean a house. You want to use odorless products. The last thing people want to do, it's kind of old school, or in the 90s, people clean with Pine Sol on floors and stuff like that. And people don't actually want to walk in these days. They have sensitivities to odors, or they're allergic to certain odors of things, and so they don't want to smell anything, actually. So you don't want to have good or bad smells. You don't want to have any odors at all. It's important that the windows and the appliances are wiped down. Again, all the nooks and crannies and the deep cleaning, so it kind of has that polished look. Not kind of, so it exactly has a very polished look when people show up and they're first interpreting how well you've maintained and how well you love on your property, because they want to buy and or want to pay top dollar. They don't want to pay top dollar for property that hasn't been maintained in a top dollar type of maintenance program. Tubs and toilets and showers need a deep clean. That's no fun for any of us to do, and that's partly why I bring in a cleaning company at my expense. But if you choose to do it yourself, there is one product, I'll give you a little tip here, that's a money product. It is only a few dollars. You can get it at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's called Barkeeper's Friend, and it is an incredible product. It's actually crushed up oyster shells, powderized oyster shells. Most people don't know. That's what it is. It's an abrasive cleaner, so you need to be careful. But man, on porcelain, in tubs and showers, I have seen it work miracles. You can get even like the bottom of a pan that's all black, an old school pan that you've been cooking on that's black on the bottom. You can scrub it and soak it with Barkeeper's Friend, and often it'll make that pan take away that black stuff if you ever try to scrub that out, it feels impossible. It'll take that and make it look brand new. Gorgeous, stainless pan on the bottom. So, Barkeeper's Friend, keep that in mind. That's a little tip. And the last thing is a detail that some people overlook is the perception. And again, back to that odor factor, is don't forget to take out the garbage. If you have, a couple little dry things is not a big deal, but if you have last night's dinner that is fermenting in your garbage and there is a showing coming up, you need to empty the garbage before showings in general, so people don't come in and smell that stuff. Sometimes we don't smell, we get desensitized to it by our own olfactory sense, and we can't smell it when we ate that dinner, and it's just afterward, right? You don't smell that so much, but when you're walking in from the fresh air outside, people will smell that right away. So try to empty your garbage before any showing, so you minimize the chance of there having kind of residual food odors in kitchen garbage or that type of thing. The seventh thing we'll talk about is curb appeal. Again, first impression style, just like with a lot of the things we're discussing here. Sometimes you won't even get the chance to show your house to somebody, which may be gorgeous on the inside, if it doesn't present well on the outside. They will drive by on the outside and they will just keep going because they don't feel that the house has been maintained or it doesn't present well on the outside. So we'll cover some exterior points here as far as exterior presentation. I even tell my clients when I'm working with buyers, I tell them to do a drive-by before we go inside a house. Now, we need to be careful with that because we don't want to, if some tiny little thing on the outside, we don't want to chalk off a property that might be a great fit. But people make their own judgments, and I'm not the boss of what they're looking at. They will just tell me after driving by a property before we've booked a showing. They will just have that sense or have that feeling, no thanks. And the property might have been gorgeous on the inside, might have even been just right for them, but they will drive by and keep driving and not. They'll either cancel that showing if we had one scheduled, or they'll inform me, hey, that's not one that I want to even take a look at. So we all know that first impressions are vitally important. You need to ensure that the entrance is open and inviting. Man, you want to be super light and bright, especially in the evenings. If you have somebody showing up in the dark, a good porch light, exterior lighting is good for security. As an ex-cop, I'll tell you, that's one of the best things you can do, and the cheapest things you can do for security is exterior lighting. You want things to be super light and bright, but you want that entryway especially to be very light and bright to welcome people into the house. Even dark, you can't even see the front door. It is not a great presentation. You want to have the doormat clean and are kind of shaken out or brushed off. You want to have visible house numbers. That's also a lighting tip there. Amazingly enough, a lot of people, you can't see house numbers, especially at night. The lights are in a place where they're not great. So you want to have them, like if you have an exterior sconce or light, you want to have those house numbers right below the light. So either look at it yourself or picture where's that light going to be shining and are they going to be able to see my house numbers. So many people have house numbers right above their garage door with lights on either side, and the lights are bright in your face at night. You cannot see the numbers, so it's tough to see. So just a little detail there. Potted plants are a nice kind of treat near the entryway or near the front door and or any other doors, like going out onto a back patio or something like that. You want to mow lawns, of course, prune trees, you want to trim back shrubs and bushes, weed gardens and flower beds. You want to sweep the porch and walkways. As far as, again, first impressions there, if that feels clean, then they'll have the perception that a lot of the things on the property are going to be cleaner. So you want to make necessary exterior improvement, touching up paint or removing broken furniture, that type of thing. Number 8 is rearranging furniture and decorations so you create open space. It is vital that you want people to come into the house and feel like it flows. You don't want people, stopping and jolting and jerking and, feeling like they need to kind of shuffle around something and go to the side and, backs of, sofas and couches and chairs. You want there to be flow. So you want it to feel open and light and bright, and you want the house to feel like in the configuration of the furniture so you can walk through it peacefully and smoothly and have a bit of a flow there. Number 9 is a common question that people ask. Reference seasonal decorations and seasonal times of year. Should I put out seasonal stuff, or somebody doesn't celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is, do I want to put those out? It's fine to put out beautiful decorations for the type of holiday or season that you celebrate, and I would recommend doing that, but I would still, again, keep open space and keep it kind of minimal, but having some well thought out decorations is a good choice. So different fabrics or trinkets to match the time of year, springtime flowers to kind of bring in that springtime, maybe not scary Halloween decorations, right? That's probably not a good choice regardless. But this appeals to buyers emotionally and may even bring out some nostalgia with them, as far as holiday seasonal times that they've had or they've had in their life, and can make it feel more inviting for them. So well-touched, and intentional, specific decorations that are nicely appointed are a good choice. Something that's overbearing, or 7 Christmas trees inside your house so you can't even walk around and take up too much space, not such a good thing. So it's all relative to being well appointed and appropriate and not cluttering the space as well. The 10th point is setting tables and bars and peninsulas with table settings. Amazingly enough, everybody knows you can put a plate on a table and eat some food on it, but it's a visual cue for people to see table settings at a bar or on a peninsula. It helps them feel and sense the amount of space that they would have for table settings and plate settings and bowls and knives and forks and spoons and plates. So it's helpful to have settings out there so people can get a feel for how many people you can sit, even though there's 3 bar stools, and you'd think, well, people can see there's 3 bar stools and that's how much room there is. There may be only 3 bar stools, but you may have room for 5 or 6, there as far as actual settings, and you may not have the number of stools that you could kind of max out an area with. So same thing the other way around. You may have 5 stools cramped into a space, but there's really not space for 5 people to sit down and have table settings there. So that makes a big difference. Number 11 is sprucing up bathrooms. The bottom line is you want your bathroom to look like and feel like a luxury hotel stay. So you want big, fluffy white linens everywhere. I would generally not use colored linens. You want white, high quality linens, including robes if you can afford it. If you could have a couple, really nice robes hanging there. You want it to feel like a spa. You want your bathroom to feel like a spa atmosphere. That's what most people want. That's how they want it to feel. So the best thing you could do is basically make it feel just like a high-end hotel. If you've ever stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, that's what you want. Obviously, none of our bathrooms look like that as far as the exact type of finishes, but for the linens we're talking about and how you kind of dress it and appoint it, that's how you want it to feel. The 12th thing you want is a gender-neutral master bedroom. You don't want the master bedroom, specifically the master bedroom, to feel super manly or like a man cave. You also don't want it to, flowery or, feminine feeling. So you want it to have it pretty neutral as far as the colors, as far as the decorations. You don't want it to feel one way or another as far as the gender. You want to feel pretty balanced and neutral. Number 13 is a number of different small changes. Small, these cost some money, but proportionate to the kind of bang for your buck, it is a small amount of money to spend for a huge outcome as far as how a place looks and feels. So minor improvements that have a big impact are replacing hardware. Replacing door and cabinet hardware is a big deal. A few door handles here and there, when you have the old brass knobs or stuff is worn or tarnished or not looking great, man, it's a big deal. If you put in some new, satin nickel, door hardware and or, drawer pulls on the cabinetry or handles on the cabinetry, sure, it takes a while to find those matching ones with the right holes, so you can match those. If they're knobs, they're easy, but sometimes with handles that are different lengths, it's hard to find the matching handles or to match the holes as far as the handles. But it's well worth doing that. Even if you don't put in new countertops or hard surface countertops in a kitchen, if you have old original cabinetry, there's a couple things I can tell you to do as far as oiling old wood cabinetry that's super worn and doesn't have great finish can make a big difference. So if you just oil old cabinetry, that's solid wood cabinetry, and put new door hardware on there, man, it transforms the way a kitchen feels, spending, $50 or $100, depending on the type of and number of handles that you have. Carpet cleaning seems pretty basic, but actually that's a pretty big deal, and not everybody does that right and does it well. You want to hire a professional carpet cleaner with truck-mounted cleaning units. You've seen those with the big hoses that come out of the truck, not just because it's a hose that comes out of a truck, but because those machines in there are massively powerful and they have huge vacuum pressure to then remove the water and steam that they're using. So you want full steam extraction, truck-mounted carpet cleaning to come in, and somebody who knows how to chemically treat the carpet without causing damage. I ran a carpet cleaning company for years, so I know a lot about this. I was a master carpet cleaner, and you can cause a lot of damage to carpet depending on the type of fibers, depending on what it's made out of and how it's kind of laid out. You can cause going aggressive with chemicals if you're trying to pull out spots or stains and trying to remove those and present it in a certain way. If you go too aggressive, you can damage carpet and or leave odors like we talked about earlier. You don't want a residual odor. So hire a really good carpet cleaner. I have fabulous carpet cleaners that I work with. I'm happy to give you suggestions as far as the right carpet cleaner to hire to come in, and you want those carpet to feel soft and cushy on your feet, and you want it to feel and look as though it's been well cared for and doesn't have stains all over it from your kids or your pets. Painting cabinetry or walls is a lot of work. It's not cheap to hire somebody to do it, but if you want to do it yourself, for the cost of the paint, which is, in good paint, I would get good paint. Get, mid to high grade paint. Don't go cheap on the paint. When you're doing all the work and all the masking that it takes in order to paint, get good quality paint. But if you're willing to do the sweat equity, even if you're going to hire somebody, it usually has a great payoff. But if you're willing to do it yourself, get good quality paint and painting cabinetry and or walls, especially areas that are high traffic. So we all know the walls that are scuffed up and kind of dinged up, where there's tons of traffic and people, bumping luggage and backpacks and stuff in and out of our houses all day long. The rear door by the garage is common for people, and kind of utility rooms or hallways where people are loading stuff in and out all the time. Man, just to paint you don't have to paint the whole interior of the house, but a certain space like that can make a big difference. And again, that's often where somebody will come in, either a front door or in and out of the garage. They'll be paying attention to how those walls feel. So it gives that unconscious or subconscious feeling that the house is better cared for, rather than walking in and thinking, oh wow, like these walls are nasty, they don't look great. Even though they might be clean, they might be scuffed and not present well. One of the best things you can possibly do is replace your light bulbs, even if they're not burned out. I know this sounds crazy, but the color temperature of the lighting makes a huge difference in how a house feels, and even the color of the walls and the color of the decorations, the color of the furniture changes with the color of the lighting. The color temperature of the lighting determines what colors pop out as far as the frequency of the color of hard finishes and furnishings and furniture. So it is important to have daylight. You want the house to feel as light and bright as possible. So you want to have super light color temperature, preferably daylight color temperature. So that'd be 5000 K, 5000 K color temperature lighting. Minimum you could go as low as 3000 K color temperature, but I don't recommend going any more than that, because you go less than that, now you're getting into, we've all seen those super yellow bulbs when you walk into somebody's house and the lighting all seems really yellow. You don't want that, especially if you have dated finishes and older cabinetry, with the old oak cabinetry and kind of orangey, yellowy type of finishes. Yellow bulbs and yellow lighting will make that feel way worse than it actually is. So the market changes as far as kind of the color that people want to see finishes. Like, whoever thought that green shag carpet was just gorgeous and appropriate to put into a house? None of us can imagine that now, but they sure did years ago. And so even with different types of finishes, you don't want places to feel yellowy. You want them to feel kind of gray and neutral tone, super light and bright. So minimum 3000 K color temperature, preferably 5000 K, which is, it's kind of bright in your eyes. Some rooms and like a laundry room and things, it can make it kind of feel like an operating room. It feels like a surgical center as far as being light and bright. But I'll tell you what, it's better to have it more light and bright and pale as far as the lighting, rather than being yellow. The 14th thing that's easy enough to do in general usually, and cheap enough even if you buy some rails, is managing cords and power plugs and cords and extension cords and things like that. Even coming down from TVs that are mounted on the wall, nicer to have just a clean track in there. You can get at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, you can get tracks that hold cords and contain cords. So it just gives that kind of crisp feel, rather than just seeing cords and electrical stuff draping everywhere, especially now with phone chargers and iPad chargers, and we have cords for all sorts of stuff that's usually charging things that are often wireless, but the charging cords are all over the place. So if you can compartmentalize those, coil those a little bit, put them in a cute little box, as far as cell phone chargers and that type of thing, and clean up cords that are all over the place, it makes it feel much more clean and much less cluttered. Number 15 is focal points and accents with decorations and flowers and things like that. So again, we don't want to overdo this. We want to be relatively sparse, very appointed and very intentional in very specific areas to create beautiful focal points in every room. Having a focal point is a good thing. So use fresh flowers or plants, or even fake plants or flowers that are done really well. They don't look fake. You don't want them looking plastic. So Hobby Lobby is a great place to get, or Michael's, are great places to get pretty decent looking fake plants and things like that. So you're finding even budget-friendly art pieces. Good art is not cheap in general, but you can find it at thrift stores if you're willing to shop a little bit. Discount retailers, like I say, Hobby Lobby is really great, especially they have lots of 50% off sales as far as their art and things like that. So well-pointed art in a few key areas can again make that color pop rather than doing wall color and flooring color. You having decorations as far as a focal point in a room is a big deal, and we can help you with that. The 16th and final thing is balanced spaciousness and perspective as far as the property, just how a property feels and how it's appointed as far as balance. So you want neutral, kind of tying everything together we've talked about. You want generally neutral finishes, neutral colors, other than some accents here and there. And you want it to feel super balanced. You don't want things to be disproportionate on the outside or the inside of the house. You want it to flow. You want it to feel clear, crisp and clean and light and bright. And again, all for the purpose of making people walk in and feel like you want to have that pop with people themselves when they walk in and they're like, wow, like this feels great. This feels super cozy, because you don't want it also feeling too sterile. You don't want it so neutral, like I was telling you, that it feels like an operating room or it feels like a doctor's office that is not inviting, and it's more of kind of a stale environment. So you want it to feel homey and cozy and snuggly and like they can see themselves living there, like it feels cozy and warm for them, but not cluttered with 16 blankets on the couch and all sorts of other stuff either. So all that is to say, these are all things that we can help you with. These are all things that I provide as far as a listing agent to you at no charge to you, and bringing in as part of the value that I come as a listing agent to get you top dollar for your property. But I wanted to put these out there and give you value if you happen to be working with another agent. I want to provide value to you anyway, or if you already are, I want to provide value anyhow, to just provide value in your life and bless you as far as the number of suggestions of things that you can do yourself. Even if your agent's not doing these, you can choose to do them yourself, even though you're kind of going along with somebody else. So all that is to say, I'd love to have you engage with me. I'm excited to talk with you. Shoot me a text, call, or email. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If I missed 5 different things that you can think of that are good for staging as well, I'd love for you to engage with me. I'd love to hear those, as well as other video topics that you might like to see, or something maybe that spurred your idea from this, where you think, hey, I'd love to see a video about this. Let me know. I'll see you in the next video.